Hey, I'm Willie Bragg. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show, and I hope each and every one of you are doing well today. And I wish all of you a great Memorial Day weekend. And let's start with life's big irony. And you never know when yesterday's SOB can become tomorrow's voice of reason and vice versa. I mean, really, it's totally amazing how things can just change around in a moment's notice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you. You seen the thumbnail. Well, you will be seeing the thumbnail once I have it all set up and everything in the future. If you haven't seen this yet, and everything will be self-explanatory according to that thumbnail, and the title, of course, also self-explanatory. But I'll let you watch this MSNBC footage and I will go and comment afterwards. So give me a moment here, and we shall start very, very shortly. Give me a moment. There we go. And let me start right now.
Former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger is drawing major backlash from remarks that he made about Ukraine at the World Economic Forum. Kissinger suggested that Ukraine cede territory to make peace with Ukraine, with Russia. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also addressed the gathering and said that Ukraine is fighting to reclaim, quote, all of its territories. NBC News senior international correspondent Piers Simmons joins us now from Davos, Switzerland. Here, it's great to see you. First off, can you just give us some context here? I mean, what more did the former secretary say about this war, and really how were those comments received?
Morgan, Henry Kissinger said that Ukraine should not be trying to deliver a crushing blow against Russia. He said that Ukraine should be prepared to give up territory and warned that if Ukraine is not prepared to do that, what he said would play out would be upheavals and tensions. And I think in that he is referring, for example, to the real concern now of famine, of starvation around the world because of Ukraine's role and Russia's role in supplying food to many parts of the world. North Africa, for example, what the effect of that could be, and again, this is then going to put pressure back on the Europeans, could be large-scale migration, revolution, change in countries, upheaval, that upheaval word again that Henry Kissinger used. What he was trying to unpick, I think, was that we are at a crunch point when it comes to the Ukraine conflict. It didn't go down well, particularly with the Ukrainians, who were frankly furious that he would suggest that basically, as they see it, they should give up. What the Ukrainians, Morgan, are saying, and I've spoken to many here in Davos at this World Economic Forum, what they are saying is that we will not give up until we push Russia back out of every inch of our territory, even Crimea. And I think it's sobering because, of course, the West is backing Ukraine. That is the message Ukraine is sending. Meanwhile, President Putin is clearly determined not to bend either.
You mentioned Ukrainians, but what about President Zelensky? I mean, he also addressed the World Economic Forum this morning, and he seemed to almost have the opposite message as Kissinger. What did he say?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I mean, he did have the opposite message. Listen, the thing about President Zelensky, the thing to remember is that he has a parliament. Ukraine is a democracy. So he has to sell any deal that he might do with the Russians to his own people, to his own parliamentarians, to opposition parties in Ukraine. So you heard President Zelensky delivering that same message. We are determined to push the Russians out. On the ground, Morgan, it's clearly turning into a bitter battle that could go on for a very long time. And just think again about what I mentioned, that potential for serious food shortages in parts of the world. That gets more severe as the months go ahead. Think about this too, the midterms ahead in the US. Will that see a political upheaval? Questions about how long Europe can keep its unity, how long America will stay focused on this issue. Those are burning questions if what we're talking about is a conflict that runs, as Courtney suggested, for months, maybe even for years.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news.
Okay. Well, as you can tell, a war criminal by the name of Henry Kissinger, the man who was Secretary of State under former President Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford, had a moment of clarity, it seems like. And that's a picture of him then, and that's a picture of him obviously now. And what's going on is, honestly, I think he sees what's going to ultimately happen. And what's ultimately is going to happen is that it's inedible. The country's going to be divided between East and West. I mean, there's just no two ways around this. That's going to be the outcome. I don't see how it could be anything other than that. Because any alternative right now is not going to be good outside of that. So they might as well start negotiating. And I think that's basically what Henry Kissinger was saying at the World Economic Forum. And President Zelensky did not like that. But frankly, I hate to agree with Henry Kissinger, but it's all about the world stability. It's about economics. It's about, it's about whether people are going to starve in other countries or not, considering the food sources, things like wheat and things like that. That's, Russia and Ukraine are producing things of that nature. And there are going to be people who are going to be naysayers and critical of Henry Kissinger in his moment of clarity, and saying, and there are people out there who are critical of negotiation and saying that anything that's a negotiation would be akin to Neville Chamberlain's appeasement of Hitler in the Sudetenland, 1938. And that's different. It's not even apples and oranges. It's like comparing apples and washing machines. That it's that different. Hitler was a strong military power, and in spite of Vladimir Putin going into Russia, Russia is not that strong of a country in the sense. I mean, yes, it's strong in the sense that it's a nuclear power as far as weaponry is concerned and everything. But do they have a coherent naval fleet? What, that one aircraft carrier? I mean, my gosh, they were in Afghanistan for a decade, and that didn't turn out so well. And it's looking like it's not going to turn out so well here in the Ukraine either, for either side, really. And honestly, there is a large segment of the population which are Russian in the Ukraine that wants to be part of Russia. And so I think that basically what needs to be done is to carve up the country into two, a West Ukraine and an East Ukraine. And that's what it's going to take. I don't see any other option. What is the alternative? I mean, a lot of NATO countries and the United States got nuclear warheads. Russia's got nuclear warheads. China's got nuclear warheads. I'm 53 years old. I lived through the 1970s, getting the concept in the late 70s what nuclear war would be like. And in the 1980s, having to live through this shit. I don't like living through this shit again. And in some ways, I'm more scared now than I was at the time. And I'm having memories now that I didn't have for almost 30 years. So I hate to agree with someone like Henry Kissinger, because Henry Kissinger is a war criminal. His actions in Chile in 1973 that toppled a democratically elected government and put in a dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet, overthrowing the government of Salvador Allende. I can never forgive him for that. He walks around as a free man. And for what the United States did in extending the war in Vietnam with the invasion of Cambodia in 1970. This sort of thing. Which in a way eventually led to the victory of the Khmer Rouge. So there's in a lot of ways, Henry Kissinger's got a lot of blood on his hands, a lot of blood. But the man's speaking sense for a change, and I will hope that with his, and I keep repeating the phrase, moment of clarity, he is having that. Maybe he's remorseful in his old age for the things he's done, and maybe he's trying to make amends. Who knows? But the thing about it is that if he's speaking sense, I think that people need to listen to what he's got to say. Because as I said, I don't want to see several mushroom clouds all over the globe in the next year or two. I don't think even the biggest war hawk around doesn't want to see that either. At least I will hope not. So, that's basically what I have to say. And that's why I'm doing this today to talk. And I hope I'm trying to make an appeal to people here that we should be wanting all parties to be negotiating, to find a negotiation. And yeah, negotiation is not going to necessarily going to be a perfect a solution for anyone involved. But here's the thing. We're talking about humanity could dramatically be altered for the worse if this escalate any worse. So I don't want a nuclear war. That's what I'm saying. I don't want a nuclear war. How is that unreasonable, people? How is that unreasonable? Don't want a nuclear war. I don't think Henry Kissinger wants a nuclear war either. And it's fucked up that there are people who are supposedly forward-thinking and progressive, saber rattling, and then you have someone like Henry Kissinger, who was one of the earlier neocons that was toxic to American foreign policy, now sounding like a peace advocate. This is the one time you're going to hear me say, listen to Henry Kissinger. You're not going to probably ever hear me say that again. But right now, this is the one time I'm going to say, listen to the man. He's making sense this time. This time he's making sense. And I don't like the guy. I think he's an SOB. I think he's a piece of shit. But the piece of shit is making sense finally for a change. On this one, I'm with him. I don't want a nuclear war, people. I don't want a nuclear war. I don't want a nuclear war. And it's insane that we got politicians and we got people who have with a pro-war mindset. I don't want a nuclear war. I really don't. And you shouldn't either. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth for all it's worth today. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you dislike or disagree with what I had to say, comment. Anyway, we will have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Also, hit that subscribe and notification bell so you're kept up to date with commentary by yours truly. I am Willie Bragg, host of the Willie Bragg Show. Remember, we have a class struggle to wage because there's no war like the class war. That's the only war we need to fight. And we need to fight for economic justice for all. We also need to fight to end all wars. I mean, literally, we need to war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. You know that song. And we need to fight to preserve the First Amendment. When we defend even the speech that we hate the most, we're defending our speech. We need to defend absolute freedom of the press too, which is why we need to go and work for freeing Julian Assange, which is why I say at the end of the show, we're all Julian Assange. Until next time, I'm Willie Bragg. I will conclude by saying to you all, good day, and of course, music.